Hello and welcome to the IDL. My name's Nick, and this is another episode of The Worst Draft. Today, I want to finally go over my rule set that I made for 5th edition, and I've ported over for Pathfinder 2e as well. It's a form of making the game have some more structured play to it. A lot of smaller RPGs nowadays have structured gameplay elements that D&D and Pathfinder do not. And I wanted to write up a more structured rule to help people, guide themselves while playing the game. And they it's more like 3 different rule sets that I have that all kind of can interplay with each other. You can pick and choose, but they all interplay with each other and kind of help support each other as one big system. So this is like a subsystem that I've created. I call it the squad system, but there's more than just squads involved in it, which I'll get into here in a second. But basically the 3 types of rule systems that I included here is squads and quests, in which your characters form a group and have a common goal that they're working towards, or personal goals they're working towards. Then I have mission building, which helps the players be more active in creating what's going to happen to them in the next adventure they go on. And then downtime rules that are a little bit more structured and a lot easier to participate in than the downtime rules that both 5e or Pathfinder has. I might not get into the details with downtime. I might explain a few things, but it's all very specific to each system, and even then it's kind of specific to what each game offers as to what you can do with it. And some of it, it's just like, I think the Pathfinder downtime rules are a little bit more robust, so it's almost not as worth going into it. It just makes it a little bit easier to get things accomplished, and that's really So first up, we have squads. And the basic makeup of a squad is you have your characters, and they have a quest that they want to go on. So say you have, 4 PCs in your party, and their quest is to destroy the king of Dark World. And so they have this major quest called, where they want to kill this king of Dark World. And that quest is broken down into a meter. And a meter means that, each quest, whether it's a squad quest, a personal quest, or a side quest, the meter means that's how many times you need to successfully engage in this plot point before you can go ahead and actually finish out that goal. So squad quests are meant to be large arcs in your characters, for your characters in the game, and that you'll accomplish as you go. You'll get these meters filled as you go, and then eventually you'll get to finish out this arc. It could be the whole campaign is the squad quest, or it could be arcs where you have a squad quest, you finish it, and you go on to the next one, and you go on to the next one. I personally use them as full campaign goals, but it's structured to be as small or grand as you'd like it to be. So the quest system, like I said, so how do you deal with these quests? How do you get things going? So there are 2 different ways to get accomplishments in your quest. So say you need a meter of 5. If your quest has a meter of 5, right? So that means you need to engage in this 5 times successfully to get to it. The way this works is I have it so you can do in downtime, you can do research, you can do any kind of activities in downtime that further your goal, or in an actual mission or adventure, you can add in ways to fulfill that. So it might be that during downtime, you study where the king of this dark world lives, right? You're doing research in ancient texts. And so you make a skill check, you successfully find out where he lives, That's one more meter crossed off. Or you could say that on this next quest you get, it just so happens that there's a sword that you will find in a temple that you're trying to go to, and this sword actually has the power to shine in magical darkness, and that's needed to get close to the Dark World King, right? So, you have different things that you can do to actually engage in it, and then it really pushes the pacing of the campaign onto the players. So the players can make this go as stretched out as they want or as quick as they want if that's their big focus. So once you get 5, say it's like this where you need the meter of 5. Say you get this 5 times, then now you get to go on an adventure or a mission to finally do the thing you need. So say you found that sword, you found where he lives, you defeated his top general, you found an airship that'll take you there, and then you also found out a secret ritual you need to cast in order to put him to rest. Now you can go there, you can do the mission that'll actually send you to the castle, and you can actually fight, do your stuff to fight him and take on this whole actual final boss that you have in place. In order to do a squad quest specifically, you also need a thing called Renown. Renown is an ability score I've added into this system, in which it's like how well known your squad is, and like how popular or like how famous they can be or how much success they have. It's ability scores. Each character will get renown, and then you pool that score together, and that becomes your squad's renown. So that kind of influences how well your squad is known and how well of a team you guys are. It's kind of like a ranking system to a degree. And then if you have a certain number of renown, so it'd be 10 renown times the number of players. So if you had 4 players, you need 40 total renown between all players to actually engage in your final mission. Renown as an ability score can be used as any real way you want. I believe in the Pathfinder version, I make it a skill instead of I make Renown a skill instead of an ability score. But same difference is you can use it as a skill in the 5e version as well. And that's like for if you were in a situation where someone could benefit from you'd benefit from someone knowing who you are, what you stand for. Like you're trying to convince, like say you need to convince a guard to let you speak to the King of Light World. You would be able to make a renown check if you have a high enough instead of your persuasion. And so then they'd be like, oh wow, yeah, you guys are really cool guys. I know I've heard of you. Well, yeah, go ahead. You can speak to the king. I bet it's urgent. And then you could have like your renown DC, which is if it's a check against like to smear your characters or something like that. Like someone's like, hey, did you know that this squad actually works for the Dark World King? And then you can use that DC as like no, we're not. We're pretty cool people. We just talked to the Light World King and we're good guys. The way you get renown is through a system I have called Honor. Honor is like a meta social currency. So you get honor as a reward for going through missions. So I have it so if you, for every 100 gold you get, every 100 XP you get, and each magic item you get, or remarkable discoveries, or if you follow your ideals during a mission, you get this honor. And honor can be spent in many different ways. But one of the ways you get it is to spend it on raising your renown. So when you have enough renown, you can go through your main mission. You don't need renown to get through personal quests or side quests. Personal quests are like, what does your character want? Maybe your character's, personal quest isn't necessarily to defeat the King of Dark World. That's the squad quest. Your personal quest could be like, hey, I really need to find my missing parents. And so that's the end goal of that for you. So you could do like your meter of 5, and then after all that, you can find your parents, and you'll get like a special reward usually at the end of a personal quest. Something bigger and better than you would after doing a normal mission. Honor can be spent on a few different things. So honor, as like I said, is a meta currency. You can spend it to get renown. You can spend it on flashbacks. So you can say like, hey, so I actually went in and I snuck in and trapped this door earlier. So now when they knock on the people who are trying to barge in, it's going to explode. And that might cost a certain amount of flashback, and like you can or honor to do this flashback. And it lets you just prepare yourself a little bit better, or be like, hey, actually, flashback, I met this guy before. I know who this is. So maybe this persuasion check will be easier now that I'm talking to them. You can spend it to get gold. You can spend it to get, if it's in Pathfinder, you'd be hero points. You can get hero points that way. You could, or in the 5th edition version, I have it so you can re-roll, which is basically what's as good as the hero point. You can get XP. You can, when you're researching a mission, which I'll explain a little bit later, you'll get to increase the degree of success by 1. And when on a mission, you can attempt to turn a situation into one that allows you to attempt a downtime activity. So like whatever your, is that right? That sounds wrong. Why did I write that? Let me just double check that, because I think that sounds wrong. Yeah, I said a downtime activity. I don't think I mean a downtime activity. I think I meant like something, maybe. Actually, it's probably right. It's probably right. So I'm assuming that means like, if you have a side quest where you are spending downtime, training your strength score or something like that, you could probably find a thing to be like, hey, this is actually the perfect practice dummy, and you'll get a success on your next thing because you found a practice dummy. Also, when your squad gets a renown of 10, and for every multiple of 10 that your squad gets, you'll get perks. So perks might be a base, might be passive income, might be notoriety, might gain followers, things like that. So you're constantly, like, as you become a bigger and bigger like force in the world, you gain more and more assets based off of your renown. It's like kind of as like rewards for your service of whatever you do in the world. So next, I want to talk about quests. Quests are a form of letting the players choose a little bit more pacing and also choose what's going to happen in the mission they're doing. It's like they're researching rumors and they're finding a job to do, right? So like they know they've got to do this thing, and so then they research it, they come up with these rumors or this info, and that kind of influences what the campaign's going to be. So that way the GM doesn't have to also do everything by themselves. They can work with the players to collaboratively build this, which takes some load off of the GM. They'll come up with a lot of the details, but they'll have in place a lot of things to work from to begin with. So to go about a mission, basically the players will say, hey, we want to sit down and find our next mission. So what they'll do is they'll go in order and they'll choose a mission aspect. They'll roll initiative, and then through initiative they'll get to choose the aspects. So say player 1 has the highest initiative, right? they'll say, they'll look at the mission aspects, which are the patron, which is who is sending you on this mission and what kind of person are they. The location, where does this mission take place? What kind of journey is it? Trouble 1 and Trouble 2, which is what challenges are awaiting you on this mission. Reward, what are you getting out of this? What is the patron after? Quests, which is there anything on this mission that'll help out any of your quests? So that could be a side quest, that could be a personal quest, that could be the squad quest. Or extra, which is any other unspecified aspect of the mission that you find rumors about, which could mean you double up on like the patron info or the location info, get a third trouble, more rewards, or something that doesn't even fit any of those aspects. What'll happen is player 1 will roll. They'll roll their dice. They're like, hey, I'm going to do location. Location is in this ancient... My rumor is that this ancient... Like, we're going to be heading to this ancient temple dedicated to my god, in which... so that's that. And then the next person in initiative, player 2, who got a slightly lower initiative, will put in a twist to that mission. And they'll say, okay, it's in this temple, but it is currently being... it is currently, a 5-day journey through the desert to get to it. So they're adding this twist to where this temple is, and what's going on. So then the first player will roll a d20. They'll roll a skill check associated with it. So in both versions, it would be nature. They'd roll a nature check. And if they got a... basically, it's if they get a nat 20, or they can choose to... They succeed, the rumor's true, but they get to either ignore the twist or add to a second twist to it. So they might say, it's not in the desert, you're wrong. It's a temple somewhere else. Or they'll say, another twist is, but there's a very clear road, a line of travel, a safe travel passage that gets through it. They might want to save it. It's much more fun, in my opinion, to have people be harsher on themselves during these than not, because it adds more interest to the mission itself. But it's up to players to choose if they want to try and make it a little bit more challenging, or if they want to try and minimize the challenge as much as possible. So then, if they got a less than it's a DC 15 skill check. If they didn't get a nat 20, but they succeeded, it's just true. The rumor's true, both that and the twist, right? If they fail, the rumor's not true, and then the GM will get to decide. So say they failed, it'd be like, okay, actually, it's not going to be at a temple. It's going to be at a... The GM might decide, instead of it being a temple for your god, it's a temple for a different god. Or maybe it's not a temple at all. Maybe it's a city or something like that. Your rumor was wrong, and so it's actually somewhere else. If they get a nat 1, that means the rumor is quote-unquote true, which means it's going to be a temple they think that it's going to be a temple that they're going to of this person's god, but there's going to be something completely different that's going to be the case. So say the GM decides to say, okay, yeah, it's a temple for your god, and they get in there, and it's actually just a Colossus mimic. It's not a real temple at all. There's a Colossus mimic pretending to be, and that's the twist that the GM puts in there. And so you're going instead of going through a temple dungeon, you're going through a dungeon that is just the insides of a mimic. Something like that. And again, you'll get to go through all 7, and then after all 7, you kind of have your mission built up. There's not much more to it than that. I also, as part of the mission building, I mentioned patrons. When you choose your patron, there are certain things you can do that give you benefits. So, for instance, if you're like, hey, our patron is actually a professor at the local university. So I have a list of patrons, and those patrons give you specific benefits. So if your patron is the professor at a university, you can go to the university patron, and you'll get benefits of compensation. You get certain compensation, you get documentation that allows you to travel freely, and get permission to do different things. You'll get access to research facilities at the university. You gain experts in the field that'll help you, answer questions, and you'll get to be able to attend a free class at the university. So you get, if you choose specific patrons, you'll get a list of rewards or benefits for having them as your patron during your mission, or sometimes outside of your mission. Like I said, you can get a free class with the university one. You might not, you might take that up later, not during the mission itself. But I have a list of the different patrons. So you've got a guild, university, an ancient or immortal being, an aristocrat, a library faction. Library faction is very specific to my own home setting of Fractera, so you can ignore that one. But a criminal syndicate, military force, a religious order, a sovereign, an investigative agency, the media, or yourself. You can be your own patron, but you don't really get benefits from that, other than you aren't beholden to someone else by any means. But this list mostly comes from 5e. They have a lot of patron stuff, so I just rework what you get for doing these patrons. But the patron categories I basically took from 5e and just kind of expanded it into something a little bit more tangible for this system in general. For downtime, usually that's how you do your side quests, is you have your downtime. And the way I have downtime designed is that for every week that you spend of downtime, you get 2 downtime activities. And you can spend those activities doing whatever you want. And this allows players to also choose the pacing of how much downtime they want to spend between missions. They can at any point during downtime go, hey, let's just set up this mission. We've spent enough time in town doing nothing. Or, hey, I finished all my side quests. I crafted the armor I was looking to craft. We are ready to go. I've done the research I needed to do. We're ready to go. But you can spend as little or as much downtime as you want in this system. But again, you get 2 activities per week, and then you can just kind of choose how many weeks you want to spend, and you'll get all that downtime. And really, a lot of the downtime is designed out of things from each system's downtime rules. So whether that's selling magic items and running a business from 5e, or from Pathfinder 2nd edition, there could be just regularly gaining allies, performing secret rites, exploring territory. It's all here and there, specific to what it is, because again, their skill checks are different and certain things are very different, so it's hard to really go through the list of what you can do in downtime, because you can kind of do anything in downtime, so it's not quite worth going through. It's just that the important thing is you get downtime activities, which are spent to do downtime things, and after a certain amount of each side quest will have a meter, and you spend your downtime, you'll spend a downtime trying to fill one of those meters. So say you want to, this isn't specific to the rules, but say you want to gain money, that could be a meter of 1, and you just have to succeed in one thing for your downtime, of doing a small job, right? And then sometimes you want to train, hey, I want to, let's say we'll research. I want to research. Say that's a meter of 3. You need a meter of 3 to find the info you're looking for. So that's 3 downtimes that you're spending trying to search this stuff up. So that might take a week and a half, right? And then boom, you got your side quest finished. And that's the structure of the downtime. And I make it a little bit more easy because of crafting. Oh my gosh, crafting. Crafting is something that people like to do, but the rules of 5e and the rules of Pathfinder almost discourage you entirely from wanting to craft because of how much time it takes to craft. And then this is already a pulpy world. Like, you don't have to make crafting take a year to do something. So I do have crafting a bit more improved. It still takes time, but not nearly as much time as it takes in the actual rules for the systems. So that's the one thing you have to look at, is it's not one-to-one to the old rules, because I do try to make it, in my opinion, more reasonable. Thinking, I don't know, other downtime stuff. So some downtime stuff that I included is responsibilities. And responsibilities are basically bonds that you have. This one is the more optional. I think when I was playtesting this stuff, this is the stuff that I took out from my own game. But it's there if you want it. Basically, you have your responsibility, which might be a business that you run or that you work for, your family, the church, work, job that you have to do, a guild you're a part of, your friends, maybe you run a farm and you're self-sufficient. You have responsibilities, and those responsibilities give you some perks, but you also have to maintain them. And when you maintain, you have to spend downtime maintaining them, or else they kind of degrade, and when they degrade, you sever your bond, and you no longer get those benefits, and B, you get a negative to your your recovery checks, or your what are they called in death saving throws. So like, and the idea behind that is like, it's there to be like, hey, this is your connection to the humanity. This is your connection to the world. Without your bonds, you have less to go on for. So that's why you get negatives if you sever them. If you have strong bonds, that'll keep you going. Like, hey, I now am, I have something to go on for. I have my family who is counting on me. So I will be able to, get +2 on my death saving throw to keep going, because of that strong connection that I have. Different benefits you could get from your bonds is gaining extra gold, getting discounts, healing temp HP that doesn't go away, like other temp HP might. Get +2 or something like that on your research checks. Gain extra renown. Actually, that one, I think that's the one I have to change. That one is meant to be honor, because playtesting that was kind of broken. Gain, piety, if that's something, a system that you run, if you want to do something in favor with your gods. Gain rations. Gain stealth checks, stuff like when disguised, or gain bonuses to stealth checks when disguised. So, sustainable, your lifestyle no longer has a cost. So things like that are like the benefits you get from. So you get some minor benefits. The major benefits is your pluses or minuses to your saving throws or recovery checks. It's not the one that I really do anymore, but it is there as part of this system. I haven't decided how to release it yet. So something that I have been struggling with when releasing role-playing games and supplements is I don't know how to do the copyright stuff. I know when you publish something in the US, you just have copyright. But I know a lot of people put a lot of legal stuff into their work. And I really don't understand what I'm supposed to add to that kind of a page for the work that I put out. So it's hard for me to put anything out when I don't know if I'm supposed to be putting something specific in there. I'm not selling these books through print, or any of the stuff that I've got going on through print. It's just digital is all I'm looking for. So I don't know if I need an ISBN, for instance, because if I were, like, for instance, if I made an itch account or something like that, I might just upload them to that. And I don't think I need an ISBN for that, but I don't know. Because I would like to, I don't know, I'm going to probably close down the Patreon again, just because it's more work for not a lot of rewards that I'm putting out for what it is. So the major thing was supposed to be me putting out rule systems and stuff like that for playtest, but they're getting a little bit more infrequent from me right now, so like I don't have a lot to go there. And then there's the unedited episodes of each Gluttony and Earth that I'm putting out there, so I don't want to do that though anymore. It's just it doesn't sound like a lot of work, but it's just something I have to add to my plate every week, which I don't necessarily feel like doing just now when I could be spending my time actually just editing things. So I would like to just get rid of that, and then I upload everything to like an itch account or something like that, you know? So I just don't know what I'm supposed to put on these acknowledged like copyright type pages. And I'm struggling to find that information. A lot of things I find is like, here's how to get your ISBN, or is self-publishing right for you? And it just never gives me the actual direct info I want. And so that's what I struggle with. Otherwise, I would love to put these up. I've had these ready and prepped for so long, and I want to put the squad rules up and give them available for people. I don't necessarily need to make money off of it. I just want to, actually have it printed out, right? Like not printed out. I want to put it out there. So I have to figure out that stuff, and then maybe once that happens, I'll try to relay that I've got a page that people can just buy stuff from. Not buy, pay what you want, whatever it is. But I have to figure that out. I don't know. Maybe drive through RPG or something like that. Probably. I don't know. I have to research which one makes more sense to do, itch or drive through. For my stuff. Though itch seems to be the indie place to go. You know how it is. I'll try to get these rules out at some point here. We'll figure it out. Something I've been working on as well has been a adventure path. I might have mentioned this in the last episode or something like that. Maybe the episode before. But I am working on an adventure path set in Fractera about 200 years after Gluttony and Earth. Gluttony and Earth obviously isn't done. I don't know what is going to happen in the finale, how it's going to dramatically change the world or not change the world. So I'm writing this adventure in mind with it can't have anything at all to do with the end of Gluttony and Earth. It can't need to rely on that information that I don't have. All I can do is make a separated thing, right? So anyways, the idea is it's called the Kerr Excursion. Or excursion is what I think I was calling it. But it's basically, the idea is there is going to be the Titan of the land of Kerr vanished 1,000 years ago. It wiped out the entire civilization on the island continent of Kerr. And so then now, 1,200 years later, there's a group who has been funded to do an expedition to try and find this Titan. And so you start in what's called the mobile city of Uban, which is a 6-mile diameter city that is able to move across the desert. And so you go on this journey traveling across the desert to find the hole in which the Titan disappeared into. And it's this big desert wasteland area. And so you're just part of like a security council who is hired on to keep peace in the city while you're doing this months long journey to the center of the continent, in which you're trying to search for this Titan and what happened to it. And that I have utilizing. I wrote the adventure utilizing the squad's missions downtime rules. I should probably come up with a better name than what I've got for it all, other than the squads, because it entitles a little bit more than just squads. But so I have this adventure path utilizes this rule setting, these rule systems, and so I definitely need to get some sort of some way or form of getting this info out so people have it for this. The second thing I've been working on has slowly but surely I've been trying to build out a guide to Fractera, like a settings guide. That one's harder because, again, it's going to be 200 years after the Gluttony Earth, and there's things that'll happen in Gluttony Earth that I don't know what'll happen, but will probably change the world in some way, or maybe not. Maybe not. It's up to the players. I don't know. So it's hard for me to like fully write it out, but I want to get that out as well, alongside this adventure. So if people have something to look at to go, oh, so that's part of this world. Maybe that's what I'll do. Not that anyone needs the Fractera rules to the Fractera setting to fully play this adventure, but I think it helps. I think it's better than not in that sense. But that one is harder to do, again, until I finish Gluttony and Earth, which is, we are still a ways out. I guess I could do pocket settings. Just do like certain, like, here's the Fractera guide to Ancestry. Here's the Fractera guide to the First World. Things like that. That might not be too bad of an idea. So I can just slowly pop that stuff out rather than doing one big campaign book. Or maybe I do them separately and then make a big campaign book after it's done as like a collection. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that'll be it. But this might be a short episode. I don't really have a whole lot more to go off of. I kind of went over everything I needed to go through and then some. So this is going to be a shorter episode, I think. So yeah, if I've mentioned before the Patreon, I'd say just ignore it this time. I'm just gonna close it. It's just not. It's currently not worth it. Again, I thought I had a plan for it, but it's just not worth it right now. For me or you, basically. Other than that, I think that's gonna be it. All right. Well. So yeah, as always, you can follow the IDL on Blue Sky, IDL-RPGS is how you can find them. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, there's the podcast feed that comes out a week earlier. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed, I do put them out also on YouTube a week later. Either way, you can find it on whichever one suits you the best. Please consider rating and reviewing and sharing the IDL with your friends, your family, your enemies, your lovers, your haters, whomever you'd like. Word of mouth is always a fantastic way to get new listeners, and I would appreciate it greatly. Other than that, I think that's it. So goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen. Adieu.